The night was quiet in the small city. Neon lights flickered outside a half-empty cafe, where a lonely man sat by the window. His name was Daniel. He was not special, not strong, not rich. Just another human trying to survive. He had no real job, no family, and no clear future. What he needed most was money. Daniel stirred the cold coffee in his cup. He thought about unpaid rent and how his landlord had warned him one last time. Tomorrow, maybe he would be homeless. His life felt like it was falling apart piece by piece. He closed his eyes for a moment, tired of thinking. When he opened them again, he noticed her. A woman had entered the cafe, but she did not look like anyone he had seen before. She wore a long coat with a hood that covered most of her face. Her movements were graceful, almost too perfect. Something about her made the air feel heavy. People in the cafe turned to look at her, but when her eyes shifted toward them, they quickly looked away. She walked straight to Daniel's table. "Are you Daniel?" she asked, her voice calm but strangely melodic. Daniel frowned. He had never seen her before. "Yes. Do I know you?" "No," she said simply, sitting down across from him without waiting for permission. "But I know you. I know enough." Daniel felt uneasy. "Listen, if this is about money, I don't have any." The woman's lips curved into a faint smile. "It is about money, yes, but not in the way you think. I want to give you money." Daniel stared at her. People didn't just walk into cafes offering money to strangers. He almost laughed. "What's the catch?" Her voice lowered. "You must pretend to be my husband." The words hung in the air like thunder. Daniel blinked. "Excuse me? Did I hear that right?" "Yes," she said, without hesitation. "I need a man to play the role of my husband, just for a short time. You will be paid well." Daniel leaned back in his chair. This was insane. Some kind of scam, maybe? Or a joke. "You're serious." "I am very serious," she said. Her hood slipped a little, and for the first time, Daniel saw her face more clearly. His breath caught in his throat. Her skin was pale, but not like human skin. It shimmered faintly, as if a soft glow lived beneath it. Her eyes were larger than normal, with deep silver pupils that seemed to hold entire galaxies. She was not human. Daniel's heart raced. He had heard stories about aliens living among humans, always in hiding, always in disguise. But to see one this close, it felt unreal. Who are you?" he whispered. She leaned forward. "My name is Celira. That is all you need to know. I am not from here, but I must appear normal, safe. If people discover the truth, it will mean danger for me. That is why I need you." Daniel swallowed hard. "Danger? From who?" Her gaze flicked toward the window, scanning the street outside. For a moment, Daniel thought he saw a shadow moving between the neon signs. Then she looked back at him. "From those who would destroy me if they knew what I am. You are not important to them. You are just a man. But if you stand beside me as my husband, they cannot touch me. Not yet." The cafe suddenly felt colder. Daniel rubbed his hands together nervously. This was madness. Pretend to be the husband of an alien woman. What if someone found out? What if those shadows outside were real, and they came after him too? But then he thought about his empty wallet, his unpaid rent, and his hopeless future. What choice did he really have? "How much?" he asked quietly. Celira's silver eyes softened. "Enough to change your life. Enough for you to start over." Daniel's pulse quickened. It sounded too good. But her voice, strangely calm, strangely beautiful, pulled him in like a tide. Still, doubt burned in his chest. Why me? Out of all the people you could choose, why me? Celira's answer was quick. "Because you have nothing. No family, no ties, no power. You are invisible, and invisible men make the best shields. Her words cut deep, but they were true. Daniel felt both insulted and strangely seen. Outside, thunder rolled in the distance, though the sky was clear. Daniel glanced at the window again. The shadow he thought he saw earlier was gone, but his skin prickled. He had the sharp feeling that someone was watching. Celira placed a small metal card on the table. It glowed faintly, with strange symbols moving across its surface. This is your first payment. Take it. Tomorrow you will meet me again. If you refuse, leave the card and walk away. But if you accept, your life will never be the same. Daniel looked down at the card. It was real. Too real. The glow painted his fingers in silver light when he touched it. He looked back up at her. Her hood was drawn low again, hiding most of her face, but her eyes, those silver eyes, watched him with an intensity that made his chest tighten. Decide now, Celira said softly. But know this, without you, I may not live to see the next sunrise. Daniel's breath caught. He could walk away and stay safe, or he could step into a world of danger and mystery. His life was about to change, whether he was ready or not. The cafe door creaked open behind him. Daniel turned his head slightly. A tall figure entered, moving slowly. Eyes fixed on Celira's table. Celira whispered one last time, her voice sharp as a blade. They have found me. Daniel followed Celira out of the cafe. The tall shadow that had entered moments earlier stayed behind, watching. Daniel's skin burned under that gaze, but Celira moved fast, as if she had no time to waste. They stepped into the night street, where neon signs blinked in colors, too bright, too strange. The air smelled of smoke and rain, though no rain had fallen. Celira pulled her hood tighter and whispered, "Do not look back." Daniel wanted to ask 100 questions, but her voice left no room for argument. His heart pounded. He had never been in real danger before, but now he could feel a danger breathing down his neck like a cold wind. She led him through narrow alleys, past shuttered shops and humming machines. The city seemed alive in a different way now, full of hidden eyes. Every corner felt like a trap. Every sound made Daniel jump. Finally, Celira stopped at a metal door, pressed her hand against a glowing panel, and the door slid open without a sound. Inside was a hidden chamber, lit with a soft blue glow. Strange symbols floated across the walls like living ink. Daniel froze at the doorway. What is this place? Celira turned, her silver eyes reflecting the light. Safe house. For now. He stepped inside slowly. The chamber was filled with objects he couldn't recognize, shards of crystal, floating screens, weapons that looked too elegant to be weapons. One object, a silver cube, hovered in the air by itself, spinning slowly. Daniel whispered, "This doesn't look safe." Almost smiled. Safer than outside. Before Daniel could reply, a sound filled the air. Not footsteps, not breathing. Something worse. A low hum, like static, crawling into his ears. The walls of the safe house trembled. Celira's face hardened. They tracked me faster than I thought. Daniel's blood ran cold. Who are they? She didn't answer. Instead, she pressed a sequence of symbols on the wall. The chamber shifted, folding, reshaping itself. A long window opened, showing the outside street. Daniel gasped. Outside stood 3 tall figures, cloaked in black, their faces hidden by masks. Their eyes glowed red through the shadows. They moved in silence, scanning the street like predators. Celira's voice was sharp. Hunters. They come from the syndicate. They want me captured or dead. Daniel felt his knees weaken. And I'm supposed to pretend to be your husband in this mess. Celira's gaze locked onto him. Not supposed to. You must. Only my family's law can protect me. They cannot touch me if I stand with a bonded husband. That is why you are here." Daniel shook his head. "I'm not a fighter. I'm not a hero." Salira stepped closer, her voice low, urgent. "You do not need to fight. You only need to stand beside me. Your presence is a shield. But if you leave me now, you will not live either. The syndicate kills loose ends." Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to run, to escape this madness. But something in Salira's eyes kept him rooted. Fear and strength mixed together. Like fire trapped in glass, the hunters moved closer. One raised a device, a red beam sweeping across the walls. The safe house shuddered again. Daniel realized they were being scanned, hunted like animals. Salira grabbed his hand suddenly. Her skin was warm, alive, almost electric. "Stay with me, Daniel. You are invisible to them now, but not for long. If they see weakness, they will break us both." Daniel tried to swallow his fear. He looked at her hand in his, at the strange glow of her silver eyes, and thought of the metal card she had given him. A choice had been made the moment he touched it. Outside, the hunters stopped. Their heads turned together like wolves catching a scent. Daniel whispered, "They know." Salira's grip tightened. Then it begins. The walls of the chamber folded again, revealing a hidden passage that spiraled downward into darkness. Salira pulled him toward it without hesitation. Daniel stumbled after her, heart pounding. The hum grew louder. The hunters were coming. Down the passage they ran, deeper into the unknown. Daniel's lungs burned, but Salira moved like flowing light, never slowing. At last, the passage opened into a massive underground hall. Daniel stopped in awe. The hall was filled with alien technology ships, weapons, and statues of beings that looked nothing like humans. It was a hidden world beneath the city. Salira finally turned to face him, breathing hard. "This is where it starts, Daniel. You wanted money. Now you will have to earn it. Pretend to be my husband. Stand by me in front of my people, and maybe you will live to spend it." Daniel shook his head, still overwhelmed. "Your people, you mean? More aliens?" Before she could answer, the underground hall was wide and cold, its walls glowing faint blue. Strange machines hummed quietly, like they were breathing. Daniel's eyes darted everywhere. He felt like he had stepped into another universe. Salira moved ahead, touching a panel on the wall. The machines around them came alive, lighting the hall in silver. Daniel's heart raced. He wanted to run back, but the sound of metal footsteps echoed behind them. The hunters were close. "Why me?" Daniel finally burst out, his voice shaking. "Why not choose one of your own people? Why a human, nobody like me?" Salira turned, her hood falling back, her silver eyes shining brighter than ever. Her voice was calm, but sharp, like a blade. "Because you are not one of them. My family will not accept any alien husband I choose. They will say he is weak, unworthy, or a spy. But a human," she paused, her gaze burning into him. "A human is rare, and rare things are powerful." Daniel shook his head. "That makes no sense. I'm not powerful. I can barely pay rent." Salira stepped closer, her face inches from his. "You don't understand. My people fear what they do not know. And no one knows humans. That is why they cannot ignore you. You will protect me simply by standing beside me." Daniel's throat went dry. He wanted to argue more, but then he heard its soft whispers. Not from Salira. From the shadows, he turned quickly. Two tall aliens stepped out from the dark corners of the hall. Their skin was gray, their eyes glowing red. Hunters, their movements were slow. Careful, like snakes ready to strike. Celira hissed under her breath. They followed us. Daniel's legs shook. He grabbed a piece of metal pipe lying near the floor, though he knew it was useless. What do we do now? Celira's silver eyes narrowed. We fight or we die. The hunters moved closer, their voices blending into one strange sound. She must not live. The syndicate commands it. Daniel felt sweat running down his neck. He wanted to scream that he was no fighter, that he was just a man in the wrong place at the wrong time. But before he could speak, one of the hunters drew a weapon, a blade that glowed with fire. Daniel's heart almost stopped. Celira moved fast, pulling out a crystal-shaped dagger from her coat. She stood tall, her hood gone now. Her alien features glowing like light carved from stars. Daniel whispered, "You're really going to fight them?" Her answer was cold. "I always fight." The first hunter rushed forward. Celira blocked his blade, sparks flying, light flashing across the hall. The second hunter aimed for Daniel. Daniel froze. The red-eyed monster raised its burning weapon. "Move." Celira shouted. Instinct took over. Daniel swung the metal pipe wildly. It struck the hunter's arm, not enough to wound, but enough to knock the weapon aside. The alien hissed, furious, and Daniel stumbled back, heart hammering in his chest. Celira spun, slashing her dagger across the first hunter's chest. The creature fell back, sparks bursting from his armor. She looked at Daniel quickly. "You are not as weak as you think." Daniel panted, gripping the pipe tighter. "I'm not strong either." But inside, something shifted. He realized he didn't fight. If he didn't stand with her, he would die. There was no choice anymore. The hunters regrouped, ready for another attack. Then, suddenly, a loud sound filled the hall like bells made of thunder. From the far side of the chamber, a huge door opened. Bright golden light poured in. Silhouettes appeared, tall alien figures dressed in flowing robes, with symbols glowing on their chests. They were not hunters. They were something else. Celira's face went pale. "My family." Daniel's jaw dropped. "Your family." Now? The hunters froze, their red eyes flickering. Then, without another word, they vanished into the shadows, gone as quickly as they had come. Celira straightened her coat, hiding her dagger, but Daniel saw her hands shaking. For the first time, she looked afraid, not of the hunters, but of the figures walking toward them. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice trembling, "you must play the role now. You must act as my husband before them. If you fail, both of us are dead." Daniel's stomach turned. Pretend? In front of glowing alien royalty? After almost being killed? His mind screamed at him to run, but Celira's grip on his hand was firm, almost desperate. The first robed figure stepped into the light, his voice deep and echoing. "Celira, you return at last. With a husband?" All eyes turned to Daniel. His heart thundered. His throat closed. He wanted to say something clever, something strong, something that made him look like he belonged. But all that came out was, "Hi." The silence that followed felt like the whole universe had stopped. The silence in the hall broke like glass. Daniel's awkward hi still hung in the air when Celira's family began to murmur among themselves. Their voices were calm but sharp, like whispers carried on steel. Celira stood tall, holding Daniel's hand tightly. "This is my husband," she declared, her voice steady. Though Daniel could feel her pulse racing, the eldest figure stepped forward, his eyes glowing gold. "A human," he said slowly, studying Daniel like a rare animal. "Strange, dangerous, but acceptable, if true." Daniel swallowed. His mouth was dry. He felt like every eye in the chamber was burning holes into his skin. But before anyone could speak again, the walls shook violently. A deep rumble rolled through the chamber, followed by a shrill alarm. Celira's eyes widened. No, they're here. Daniel's chest tightened. The hunters. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. From the broken shadows above, black shapes dropped like falling knives. Hunters, dozens of them, slid down the walls, their red eyes glowing brighter than ever. The hall erupted in chaos. Celira's family shouted, their golden light clashing against the hunters' red glow. Weapons flashed, beams of energy cut across the room, and Daniel stood, frozen in the storm. Run! Celira shouted, pulling him. Daniel stumbled after her as the hall exploded into war. Hunters clashed with robed aliens, the sound of metal and fire filling the air. Daniel looked back once. One of the hunters snapped a staff in half with its claws before vanishing into smoke. Don't look back. Celira's voice cut through the noise. They raced into a narrow tunnel. The ground shook under their feet as explosions rattled the walls. Daniel's lungs burned, his legs screamed, but Celira never slowed. She was faster, stronger, born for this. Yet she never let go of his hand. Behind them, heavy footsteps grew louder. The hunters were following. Daniel gasped. They're gaining on us. Celira spun around for a split second, throwing a small crystal sphere down the tunnel. It exploded in a blinding flash of blue light. The hunters hissed, covering their eyes. Keep running. She shouted. Daniel's vision blurred, but he pushed forward. His chest felt like it would burst. He wasn't a soldier, not a fighter. He was just a man caught in a storm. But now, survival was the only choice. The tunnel opened into the lower Sadia, sprawling maze of metallic bridges, neon lights, and endless noise. Alien ships hovered above like giant insects. Crowds of strange beings moved through the streets. Unaware of the battle unfolding below, Daniel and Celira burst into the open, blending into the chaos. For a moment, Daniel thought they were safe. Then he saw them. Hunters. Leaping from rooftop to rooftop, red eyes scanning the crowd. Daniel's heart dropped. They're everywhere. Celira pulled her hood up again, her voice low but urgent. Stay close. Do not speak. Do not fall behind. They pushed through the crowd, weaving between tall aliens with glowing tattoos and vendors selling strange foods that smoked in the air. Daniel felt every stare, every whisper. He didn't belong here. He was the only human in a sea of creatures. One wrong move, and everyone would know. A sudden screech cut the air. Daniel looked up. A hunter had spotted them from the rooftops. Run! Celira snapped. The chase began. They darted through the crowd, pushing past startled aliens. The hunters leaped down, their cloaks tearing through the air. Daniel heard claws scraping metal behind him, closer and closer. Celira grabbed his arm and pulled him into a side alley. They sprinted up a narrow staircase, climbed over broken pipes, and dashed across a shaking bridge suspended high above the city. Daniel's stomach dropped as he looked down endless lights. Endless fall. Don't look down, Celira warned. But Daniel did and almost slipped. Celira caught him, dragging him forward. Behind them, the hunters climbed the bridge like spiders. Silent and merciless. Daniel shouted, "We can't outrun them forever." Celira's silver eyes flashed. "We don't outrun them. We outsmart them." She stopped suddenly, pulling Daniel into a dark corner of the bridge. She pressed a hidden button on the wall, and a section of the bridge shifted, opening a trap door. Inside. Daniel didn't argue. He dropped into the darkness, landing on cold metal. Celira followed, sealing the hatch above them just as the hunter's footsteps thundered past. Silence. Daniel panted, clutching his chest. He could barely breathe. His body shook from exhaustion, from fear. Celira knelt beside him, her face close, her voice soft. "You are alive. That is enough. Daniel laughed weakly, though it sounded more like a broken sob. Alive? Barely. Celira looked at him, her eyes softer now, glowing faintly in the dark. Do you see, Daniel? This is my world. This is why I needed you. Alone, I cannot survive. Together, maybe we can. Daniel met her gaze. For the first time, he saw not just an alien woman, but someone desperate. Someone fighting against forces too big for one person. Before he could speak, a faint metallic sound echoed in the dark, scraping, searching that the hunters hadn't given up. They were close, Celira whispered, almost trembling. They know we are hiding. The chase is not over. The tunnel was silent, except for Daniel's breathing. His chest rose and fell like a drum, each inhale sharp, each exhale shaky. He pressed his back to the cold wall, trying not to think about the hunters scratching through the shadows above. Celira crouched beside him, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the dark. Her hand rested on the wall, fingers tracing symbols Daniel couldn't understand. The metal shifted, sealing them inside a hidden chamber. The hunter sounds grew fainter, then vanished. For the first time in hours, they were safe. Daniel slid down to the floor. I can't do this, he whispered. I'm not made for this world. I'm not a hero. I'm not strong. I'm just... Celira studied him for a long moment. She didn't argue, didn't comfort him with lies. Instead, she said softly, you survived. That is more than most would do. Daniel laughed weakly. Survived? Barely. Her eyes softened. She lowered her hood. Her face glowed gently in the dim light, strange, alien, but also beautiful. You think strength is muscle and fire, Celira said, her voice calm. But true strength is something else. It is staying when you want to run. It is standing when you want to fall. That is what I see in you, Daniel. Daniel blinked, unsure what to say. No one had ever spoken to him like that. Back on Earth, he was invisible, forgettable, but here, in this dangerous world, this alien woman looked at him like he mattered. Silence stretched between them. The danger outside seemed far away for a moment. Celira leaned closer. My family will test you soon. They will watch you, judge you. If they believe you're my husband, they will protect us. If they see weakness... She paused. Then they will let the syndicate take me. And you. Daniel's throat tightened. So it's not just pretending anymore. Her silver eyes didn't blink. No. If you fail, we both die. Daniel wanted to protest, to scream that he wasn't ready, but something in her expression stopped him. For the first time, he saw the weight she carried. Celira wasn't just trying to survive, she was trying to keep her place. Her honor, her entire life, and she had chosen him to stand beside her. Slowly, Daniel nodded. Then teach me. Show me how to be what they want. Celira tilted her head, almost surprised. You would try. Daniel gave a small, nervous smile. Well, I don't like the dying option. For the first time since he met her, Celira laughed quiet, sharp, like the sound of crystal breaking. It wasn't cold. It was real. She leaned back and pulled out a small device, placing it between them. The object unfolded like a flower made of glass, projecting a faint hologram. Alien words appeared in the air, glowing blue. This, she explained, is the bond ritual. A performance we must perfect. You must stand close to me, speak when I speak, and keep your eyes steady. No fear, no doubt. Daniel frowned. Sounds like a job interview. But for marriage, Celira raised one brow. Marriage is always a performance, even for humans. Daniel chuckled, shaking his head. You've got a point. She stood, moving gracefully, and held out her hand. Stand with me. Daniel hesitated, then took her hand. Her skin was warm, almost humming with energy. She guided him through the ritual: how to place his hand on her shoulder, how to bow slightly, how to hold her gaze like they had known each other for years. At first, Daniel stumbled, awkward and clumsy. But as Celira corrected him, as her voice guided him softly, he began to feel something strange. When he looked into her eyes, it didn't feel like acting anymore. For a moment, it felt real. His chest tightened. He quickly looked away, trying to hide it. But Celira noticed. She didn't tease, didn't smile. Instead, she held his hand a little longer, her voice lower now. "You may not believe it, Daniel, but every step you take with me makes you part of this world." Daniel whispered back, "And every step I take makes me part of your life." Before Celira could reply, the chamber's walls pulsed with light. A voice echoed, deep and commanding, "Celira, the family council awaits." Celira's eyes hardened. She let go of his hand, pulling her hood back up. The softness was gone, replaced by cold resolve. "It is time." Daniel's stomach twisted. He wasn't ready. He wasn't sure he would ever be ready. But he had no choice. Celira turned to him one last time, her silver eyes glowing brighter than the light around them. "Remember, Daniel? You are no longer pretending. You are my husband now. Act it, or die with me." The door slid open, revealing a long golden hall filled with shadows. Daniel took a deep breath, stepped forward, and whispered to himself, "Here goes nothing." The golden hall stretched wide, its walls alive with shifting light. Dozens of tall alien figures stood in a half circle, their glowing robes trailing across the polished floor. Their eyes, bright as suns, all locked on one thing. The human Daniel, he felt his knees weaken under their gaze. He wanted to shrink, to disappear, but Celira held his hand firmly, her fingers warm, steady, unshaking. She led him forward as though she feared nothing. The eldest counselor raised his staff. His voice boomed like thunder. "Celira, daughter of our house, you return with a human husband." Celira bowed her head slightly. "Yes, honored council. This is Daniel. He is mine, and I am his." Whispers filled the chamber. Alien voices overlapped, sharp and curious. Words Daniel couldn't understand buzzed like an angry swarm. Daniel swallowed. His throat was dry, but he forced himself to stand taller. He remembered Celira's words, "No fear, no doubt." But then another voice cut through the noise. "Lies." From the shadows stepped the jealous alien Daniel had seen before in the cafe, the tall one with burning eyes. His robe was darker than the rest, his presence heavy with hate. He pointed a long finger at Daniel. "This human is no husband. He is a fraud. A toy she bought to fool you." The hall went silent. Daniel's chest froze. His secret was being ripped open in front of everyone. He wanted to shout back, but fear strangled his words. Celira stepped forward, her silver eyes blazing. "You dare question me, Dresser? You who have stalked me since I refused your proposal?" Dresser's mouth twisted into a smile. "I question because I know the truth. He cannot speak our language. He does not know our laws. He cannot pass the bond test." Gasps filled the hall. The council turned their glowing eyes toward Daniel. The eldest counselor raised his staff again. "Then let it be decided. The bond test will show truth. If he fails, Celira's claim ends, and the syndicate will take her." Daniel's heart crashed like thunder. A test, in front of everyone. Celira leaned close, whispering sharply in his ear, "Do not break. Whatever they demand, stand with me." The council chamber shifted suddenly. The floor rippled like liquid metal, reshaping itself into a wide circle. Symbols burned around the edges. The air grew hot, heavy, alive with unseen power. The bond test had begun. Two counselors stepped forward. One carried a staff of light, the other a bowl filled with silver fire. They spoke together, their voices echoing like twin bells, human. If you are her true husband, your heart will not break under the bond. If you are false, the fire will consume you. The bowl was placed before Daniel. The fire inside swirled, reaching upward like living hands. Daniel's stomach twisted. He whispered to Salira, "This is insane. That thing looks like it wants to eat me." Salira squeezed his hand. "Trust me. The fire tests truth. If you believe in us, even a little it will not harm you." Dresser laughed darkly. "He will burn." The council fell silent. All eyes were on Daniel. Daniel's hands trembled. He stepped forward, staring at the silver fire. It pulsed, almost alive, almost aware. His heart pounded. "I'm not her husband. This is fake. I'm just a man pretending." But then his gaze drifted to Salira. She was watching him, her face calm, but her eyes were not calm. They held fear, hope, and something else. Trust. Daniel took a deep breath. He placed his hand into the fire. The flames wrapped around his skin like liquid silver. Heat surged through his body, but it didn't burn. Instead, it sank into him, searching. Testing memories flashed in his mind, his empty life back on Earth, his loneliness, his failures. But then he saw her, Salira, standing beside him in the cafe, pulling him through the chase, holding his hand in the dark. The fire pulsed brighter. Then it went still. When Daniel pulled his hand out, it was unburned. The crowd gasped. The eldest counselor spoke, voice heavy with awe. "The fire accepts him." Salira exhaled softly, relief flooding her face. But Dresser snarled, stepping forward. "No, trickery. I challenge him to the second trial." Daniel's heart sank. "Wait, there's a second trial." The counselor nodded gravely. "The fire tests truth. But strength of spirit must also be proven. He must face a duel. If he lives, the bond stands. If he falls, the syndicate may claim what remains." The floor shifted again, forming an arena of shining metal. Weapons appeared around the circle blades, staffs, and shields. Daniel's blood went cold. He whispered, "Salira, I can't fight him. Look at him. He's a giant." Salira's silver eyes locked onto his. "Then don't fight like them. Fight like yourself." Dresser stepped into the circle, his blade glowing red. He grinned. "This human dies tonight." The council watched in silence. The arena lights flared. Daniel stood at the edge, sweating, shaking, gripping the smallest blade he could find. His knees wanted to give out. His mind screamed to run. But Salira's voice echoed in his head. "Stand when you want to fall." The duel was about to begin. The arena glowed with burning light. Alien symbols circled the edges like living fire, sealing Daniel and Dresser inside. The crowd of counselors stood silent, their glowing eyes locked on the human. Dresser raised his red blade, his voice loud and sharp. "This human is nothing. Watch as he breaks." Daniel's stomach twisted. His hands shook around the small blade he had chosen. He could feel the weight of every stare, every whisper. He was about to die in front of all of them. The signal was given. The duel began. Dresser moved like lightning. His blade slashed across the floor, sparks flying. Daniel barely jumped aside. The heat singed his arm. He stumbled, nearly dropping his weapon. The crowd murmured. Some shook their heads. Already, Daniel looked weak. Salira stood at the edge, her fists clenched. Her silver eyes burned into him. She didn't shout, didn't cry, she only whispered, "Stand when you want to fall." Daniel gritted his teeth. He couldn't fight Dresser with strength. He would lose in seconds. But maybe he could fight with something else. As Dresser lunged again, Daniel didn't swing back. Instead, he ducked, letting the alien's blade strike the arena wall. The metal cracked with a roar. Dresser snarled, yanking his weapon free. The crowd gasped. Daniel realized something: the alien was strong. Yes, but reckless. He fought with pride, not caution. Daniel shouted, "You're not trying to beat me, you just want to show off." Dresser's eyes flared. Silence, worm. He charged again, faster this time. Daniel dodged, tripping, rolling across the floor. His blade clattered away. The crowd laughed. Dresser grinned, raising his sword high for the killing strike. Daniel's heart thundered. This was it. One move left at the last second. Daniel grabbed a piece of broken metal from the cracked arena wall the shard Dresser had made himself. He raised it like a mirror. The red blade struck the shards, sparks exploded. The energy from Dresser's own attack rebounded, surging back into him. His body staggered as the force knocked him to his knees. The hall fell silent. Daniel, shaking, stood over him with the shard in his hand. He didn't strike. He didn't kill. He just dropped the shard and said, breathing hard, "I don't need to win with strength. I win by standing." The crowd erupted. Whispers, gasps. Some even clapped their hands together in strange alien applause. The eldest counselor's golden eyes burned brighter. The human speaks truth. He faced the fire and lived. He faced the blade and stood. The bond is proven. Celira exhaled, her body trembling with relief. But Dresser growled, rising to his feet, fury burning in his eyes. No, he tricked the test. He is not her husband. Before anyone could move, Dresser lunged again, this time not at Daniel, but at Celira. Daniel didn't think. He threw himself between them. The red blade stopped inches from his chest, blocked by Celira's crystal dagger. Her silver eyes glowed like fire as she twisted the weapon, disarming Dresser in one swift move. The counselors shouted. Guards rushed forward, seizing Dresser and dragging him to the floor. His screams echoed, full of rage and defeat. Celira stood over him, her voice cold and sharp. "You would harm me before the council. You are no protector. You are a traitor." The council roared their judgment. Dresser is guilty. The human stands as true. Daniel's legs almost gave out. He had survived. Somehow he had survived. Celira came to him, her voice low, almost trembling. "You did it, Daniel. You did what no one else could." Daniel looked at her, still shaking. "I didn't fight. I just didn't give up." She smiled faintly. "That is why you lived." The crowd began to disperse, the trial over. Celira leaned closer, whispering so only he could hear. "You came here as a stranger. You stood as my shield. But now, Daniel." Her silver eyes softened, shimmering with something he couldn't name. "You are no longer pretending." Daniel's heart pounded. The weight of her words hit him harder than any blade. He wanted to speak, to say something back, but before he could, the eldest counselor raised his staff once more. "Celira, human. The bond is accepted. But be warned, the syndicate does not rest. This victory is not the end. It is only the beginning." The chamber dimmed, shadows stretching across the floor. Daniel looked at Celira. She looked back. For the first time, he didn't feel like a stranger. He felt like her husband. But in the back of his mind, one thought echoed like a shadow. If this is only the beginning, what comes next?